Email is a common communication method that we all know about, but before it existed, the alternative was to send mail to one another through the postal system. There is a surprising parallel between the postal system and how the computer sends and receives data across the internet every day. Let's compare how they both work. Data sent across the internet is quite an important part of our everyday lives, and it wouldn't be possible without Internet Protocol addresses, or IP addresses. A useful way to think of IP addresses is that they function much like addresses in a postal system that make it possible for packets of information to be delivered to you. And, like with the postal system, things can go wrong. But let's first go over how things work before we think about how they can go wrong. In this video, you will learn what IP addresses are and explore how computers send data across the internet. You previously learned how computers connect to each other to form networks and how these networks connect to each other to form the internet. When you send data between computers across the internet, a common way of understanding this is that the computers are the destinations that request and receive the data, and the networks are the routes that the data travels across. What makes that possible is the Internet Protocol. Version 4 and version 6 are currently the two most widely used standards of Internet Protocol. Think of that old-fashioned postal system again. When you send a letter to a friend, you need their address, otherwise they won't receive your letter. Computers work in a similar way. Every computer on a network is assigned an IP address. In Protocol version 4, an IP address contains 4 octets separated by periods or dots. For example, 192.0.2.235. In Protocol version 6, an IP address contains 8 groups of hexadecimal digits separated by a colon. When you send data across a network, you send the data as a series of messages called IP packets, also known as datagrams. At a high level, IP packets contain a header and a payload, which is the data. Think of that old-fashioned postal system again. When you send a letter, you not only include the recipient's address, but also your own address, in case a return location is needed. IP packets are the same. They include the destination IP address and source IP address. These addresses are in the header along with some additional information to help deliver the packet. And the payload contains the data of the packet and some of the other protocols, which we'll cover in a moment. Earlier, I mentioned that things can go wrong with a postal system. When sending multiple letters to a friend, it's possible they may arrive out of order. It's possible that a package will get damaged, or if you're really unlucky, a letter could get lost. These issues can happen to IP packets too. They can arrive out of order, become damaged or corrupted during transit, or be dropped or lost during transit. To solve these problems, the payload part of the packets contains other protocols too. You can think of them as another message inside the payload of the IP packet. The two most common protocols are the Transmission Control Protocol, referred to as TCP, and the User Datagram Protocol, also known as UDP. TCP can solve all three of the previously mentioned issues, but at the cost of a small delay when sending the data. This protocol is used for sending the data that must arrive correctly and in order, such as a text or image files. UDP solves the corrupt packet issue, but packets can still arrive out of order or not arrive at all. This protocol is used for sending data that can tolerate some data loss, such as voice calls or live video streaming. Both of these protocols contain payloads that contain further protocols inside of them. And there you have it. The internet uses internet protocols, much like an old-fashioned postal system. These protocols can help to make sure that data arrives in order, does not become corrupted or lost or dropped during transit. Now you're able to explain how IP addresses work and how computers send data across the internet.